In today's video, we're going to be diving right into this modeled guidance again, as I'm still waiting to get Debbie SV3 working correctly on this computer. Now, if you watched yesterday's video, we had major issues that I was completely unaware of until like 4 or 5 hours after it was uploaded. Apparently, the audio track somehow got completely disconnected where it was unsynced from the video. So what was being shown on screen was totally different timing from what was being said in the video. So it was completely messed up. Unfortunately, I noticed this way too late to do anything about it. Really, everybody had already, for the most part, seen it. There was no point in deleting it because, most of the views that would come in have already come in. So it didn't really matter. Everybody had already seen it, and hopefully some information was able to correctly get across in that video regardless. But I do apologize for that, and I'm going to be double checking this video to make sure we don't get a repeat. I'm going to be listening to this whole video through, making sure it's all synced up, and then hopefully we shouldn't have any issues today. Now, let's get straight into things, and as we can see, that storm that we've been dealing with is moving out as of this afternoon, and even by this evening, we're going to be seeing another storm system moving through into the northwest up here, kind of the northern Rockies, and also up here for some of the Great Lakes. We're seeing some of this activity as well. Let's go ahead and move this forward a bit, and as we can see, this does become a bit of a clipper system here, bringing some snowfall showers throughout Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, and even Michigan here as well. We do see some activity underneath here, and this could be in the form of thunderstorms, as we do see some Gulf moisture making its way into this. But overall, this is a more minor system as we're approaching Sunday. And even into Monday, we see this becoming a little bit more intense with a bit of a southern slider, but this is all rainfall here, as you can see, too warm really for any snowfall. Typically, this would be a snowstorm, though. If this was a normal winter, obviously this winter has not been a typical winter, and more likely than snowfall, we're probably going to be seeing more thunderstorms and severe weather. Very spring to summer like weather in there, which has been just crazy. I've probably seen more thunderstorms in Virginia and severe weather than we see most months in the year. We've been under a marginal to slight risk of severe weather like 3 or 4 times so far this January, which is just completely unheard of. Um, Very, very spring-like here, at least, and I'm sure a lot of other folks have been feeling that where they're from. So just a very, very interesting setup and unusual setup we've been having. Now, these models, each one of them individually, has been trending at some of these more southern slider type storm tracks continuing to take place and eventually leading towards snowfall here to the mid-Atlantic. As you can see, West Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland, and DC, Delaware, and New Jersey as well. And as we continue on with that, we see that one moves out, and we actually get another one as well here, even further south this time, a low kind of offshore of North Carolina. And this does swing some cold air back behind it. This leads towards some freezing rain, sleet, and snowfall pretty far down into regions of North Carolina, Virginia, even Tennessee at times, but another mid Atlantic snowstorm. So there is hope, and certainly we're seeing some signs that this could be definitely a snowy period coming up over the next week to 2 weeks here. So we're going to be watching this very closely on the channel. We do upload every single day, so be sure to subscribe because we will be bringing daily uploads and talking about this daily until we get to the bottom of it, basically. Total precipitation is really evident here. We totally can see that this is the storm track here, and if anything, it's maybe even further south than that, something like this. And a lot of this will be in the form of potential snowfall, especially up in this area. So we're going to be watching southern New England, the mid Atlantic, and portions of the Ohio Valley, and even the Southeast for some snowfall in the next 10 days. Speaking of that, you could tell that the mid Atlantic definitely has more snowfall opportunities coming up, even according to our best model, the European model here. As you can see, in the grays, a dusting, if anything, blues 2 to 6 inches of snowfall, purples 6 to 10, pinks 10 to 20 there, and then our pastel blues 20 inches plus, and we're seeing some of that there for West Virginia and Virginia. Not like anything I've been able to say really this entire winter time. Very unusual and very last minute to see this popping up. For this entire winter, it's been the opposite of this. So certainly fingers crossed. I know a lot of areas are probably drought stricken, so definitely would be a good thing to get some snowfall in there. Let's see if the GFS model agrees here. We'll just take a look here. Let's switch to our 6E model run. That's probably the more recent one. And as we can see, I'm just going to move past that storm because we pretty much know it's going to happen. Right around the 31st to the 1st, we do get a similar system. Again, cold air damming behind. We do get some snow for some of the mid-Atlantic here, right around that 31st time frame. And then right around the second, third time frame, we also get a very similar storm track. It looks like there's some broad low pressure kind of along a connected frontal boundary here, and this is leading towards, again, potential snowfall in this pocket here, just like that European model showed. There are some differences, but I mean, for the most part, there's a lot of similarities as well. And we do follow this up with some decent cold here in the east, as you can see, something like this. So certainly looking like a favorable pattern, probably some high pressure out here, and in general, very cold air diving into the east, following all of this potential snowfall. Certainly interesting, and again, unlike anything we've been able to really say this entire wintertime. We do, however, according to this model, return into this trough in the west, ridge in the east pattern. So after this kind of first through sixth time frame of February, things look to return to just very, very unfavorable conditions. I mean, we can totally tell that the flow of everything is happening like this. This looks a lot more like a hurricane month, August, September flow of things that you would expect to see maybe a tropical system moving along all of this moisture. But again, we're in January and February. It's highly, highly insane and really just unbelievable what we're seeing happening here. It's almost like we're totally in a different month than we're supposed to be in. It's that crazy to me. Now, as we move on to our Canadian model, we're just going to move through with this again, just skipping past that storm number one and onto some of the more debatable things here. We could tell that by February 1st, there is some snowfall, but it looks a little bit different. But I think the one similarity here is that we just have this broad area of storminess stretching from basically Texas and Mexico all the way offshore of New England. Definitely a long stretching area of precipitation, and we could tell that we do get a winter storm here in the east, but this is just way different than what we're seeing on the GFS and European model. So we'll figure out which one ends up being correct. I will say that we do look like we are really in good shape to see some cold moving into the east. It looks like this is pulling into that direction around the 5th here on this Canadian model. And I would expect maybe more opportunities in this type of a pattern. So even though we get a little bit less here, or a lot less even, here on the Canadian model as far as snowfall within the next 10 days, it does look more favorable going into the end of the model run here, kind of looking beyond the next 10 days. Certainly something to note. We do see a little bit more of a promising look here. Now, I do want to zoom into the mid-Atlantic here on all three of the models. Just take a look at that total snowfall. So again, looking at 10 inches plus for a lot of these areas on that model. Let's just move on to our GFS model. We can take a look at the total snowfall here. And we can see that there is a pretty big similarity here. We're seeing plenty of snowfall in this pocket here. Probably what we're seeing. Yeah, the European model looks a little bit more north here, as you can see. Well, I won't do it in blue because you can't see blue. Let's do it in red here. So the European model, we're probably seeing more north a little bit there, as you can see. GFS seems to be a little bit more southeast, which is kind of typical from the GFS to see that. And then obviously, when we take a look at this Canadian model, what we will likely see is nothing. So let's just do it anyway, though. Take a look. And yeah, we see mostly on this Canadian model, including green there. That's a great color. The Canadian model is way up here, so we're seeing the Canadian model is far, far off from the GFS and the European model, but that GFS and European model are pretty in sync there. GFS being a little bit further southeast, the European model being a little bit northwest with that snowfall. But overall, it looks like there's a good chance for at least one of these to pan out, I would say. But I mean, there's even pretty good odds that we do see these back-to-back snowstorms here. Certainly a very, very interesting look, and I'm excited to track this with you guys. So be sure to subscribe again as we do upload every single day. You can even hit that bell icon for daily notifications when we do upload. You can like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll be seeing you guys in tomorrow's video.